remember back when Glenn Davis was at LSU, he was another heavy-set guy with decent post moves, but I'm not getting the hype about Jared Sullinger.
No, he's not for real, and I don't think Big Baby's for real either.
But he's still one of the better six men in the league, and a couple years ago, if you question his athleticism, I agree with you. The guy looked like he did In-N-Out burger before, during, and after every game. He
looked like he took them in, but I don't know where I don't see any of them coming out. I'm just in shock at something like this. I mean, this is absurd to me. If she's going to do it, it's just, it's really strange and absurd to me. I mean, I almost am a loss for words with this one, and I'm not for a loss of too many things in my life. I just find it very strange that a college woman wants to now become a man and still wants to play on the women's team.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, look, this girl feels like she's a man and feels like she should be a man, and, fine, whatever. What if I say that, wow, I feel like I still have the maturity level of a 16, 17-year-old boy, I should be allowed to play high school basketball?
Good evening, sports fans. Welcome to Technically Speaking with former NBA official Tim Donaghy, Mike Munger, the Scotsman from Return to the Rafters, and me, Nick Gelso. I'm the host of the Celtics Late Night Show, and I'm doing dual duty now. I'll be now joining these guys, kind of no pun intended, Tim, but I'm going to be refereeing the arguments. Last several shows, you two gentlemen have gone at it so hardcore, it's been really entertaining stuff. And I get to finally, after watching Tim referee games for 13 seasons, I get to blow the whistle at you now, Tim, and tell you when to shut the hell up.
Hey,
anyway, we are live. We're here on, it is what it is. How's my audio, fellas? We still choppy?
Getting better.
Getting better.
Pretty good.
All right, we are live here on CLNSRadio.com. That's www.clnsradio.com. If you're listening to Technically Speaking over at Blog Talk Radio, get out of there. Shift on over to CLNSRadio.com. Click the Listen Live button in the top right-hand corner of the page. You'll be redirected to our Listen Live page where you could chat with us as well, chat with the hosts. Guys, we're going to talk general sports. I'm an NBA guy, and now I'm joining you on the mic to talk general sports, so I do follow avidly the other major sports. You two are experts on these topics. I'm going to be shifting the questions towards you, and from there, you guys will duke it out. Sometimes you agree, sometimes not, and we want to hear from the callers and get your opinion on. Call-in number is 347-215-7771. Tim, what is the bottom line with MLB playoffs right now?
I'll tell you what, there's some things going on in the playoffs that I think are shocking some people. I mean, there's a big Game 5 in the Detroit Yankees series, and the Phillies are getting their asses handed to them right now, down 5-2. It looks like that could go to a decisive Game 5. So, it's pretty exciting what we have going on out there in the playoffs. Obviously, Game 5 is going to be really excited, and everybody was calling for this New York Yankees-Philadelphia Phillies matchup in the World Series. But, both of them, are on the brink of right now of being knocked out of the playoffs.
Best time of year for baseball, the fall. A lot of people tune in primarily in the fall to catch what we're talking about right now. Mike, what is your take thus far on the MLB playoffs? What's gone on, and what do you see happening?
I mean, first off, you got to congratulate Ron Washington and the Texas Rangers because they beat a Tampa Bay team that came into the playoffs essentially on fire. When I was looking at the matchup, I actually thought Tampa Bay was going to win, but Texas, they played real well. They played some good ball. Game 4, Adrian Beltre smacked 3 solo home runs. They came through in the clutch, and they won 4-3. That was actually a very entertaining series. I caught myself watching some of it when it was on TV. But then you have the other series here with Detroit and New York, and, the rain in Game 1 essentially screwed everything up because you took away that desirable CC Sabathia-Justin Verlander matchup, and then you weren't sure who was going to pitch what game. They weren't going to pitch those guys in Game 2, so it kind of screwed up the whole rhythm of the series. We're going into Game 5 here tomorrow night in New York, and from the looks of things, it looks like CC Sabathia will probably be able to have like an all-hands-on-deck thing out of the bullpen, but the Tigers, however, will not use Justin Verlander because I guess they don't want to use up any of his pitches just in case they advance. So it's definitely been interesting to see. Right now, like Tim said, St. Louis is beating Philadelphia. We have the late game tonight with Milwaukee and Arizona. The playoffs are the best time for baseball because all the games matter. In the regular season with 162 games, some of the games just don't matter. In the playoffs, every single game matters, so it's definitely fun to watch.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, these Game 5s that look like they're going to take place are great for the league, great for the excitement of the fans. Hopefully both the Yankees and the Phillies will be able to pull out of these, first-round matchups, progress on here. But it makes for some great sports events for the sports world out there when you have these Game 5s. It's win or go home.
Tim, right now, Detroit and the Yankees are tied 2-2 in the series. How important is it for baseball to continue to see Philadelphia, New York, some of these big market teams move forward?
Just like in any professional sport, everything's driven by the almighty dollar and the revenue. And the revenue that's going to come in is when these big market teams are, playing, because that, where they're going to get the viewership from. So it's huge. I mean, Major League Baseball, I'm sure, is going to be devastated if the Yankees and Phillies don't advance. It's something that they need, for ratings, and it's something that, I'm sure a lot of these umpires are aware of, just like we were aware of that on the NBA floor. If the Lakers would advance more than the Sacramento Kings would advance. So, you may see a guy behind the plate squeeze that strike zone for one side or another, and I'm curious to see how, officiate these games.
Well, look, I agree with you to a point, Tim. I mean, obviously, the dream matchup for Major League Baseball would, without a question, be the Yankees versus the Phillies. You have New York versus Philadelphia. It's two of the biggest media markets in the world. And the fact that they're separated on, the Jersey Turnpike by about, I don't know, was it 70 miles or something? I mean,
that's about an hour and a half, hour 45 traffic drive time, yeah.
I mean, that just adds to everything. And you look at it, I mean, I think the funniest part about that whole matchup is the fact that you have two of the most obnoxious fan bases in the whole wide, world of sports.
Oh, there'll be brawls in both stadiums. I mean, you talk about having the courtroom downstairs of the Lincoln Financial Field where the Eagles play. I mean, they're going to have a courtroom, ready, because there's no more obnoxious fans than in Philly and New York.
And as much as I would hate to agree with you on anything, I do think if it comes down to Philadelphia versus New York, I actually think Philadelphia has the edge because they have the far superior pitching staff. I mean, I think if the Phillies were able to get by CC Sabathia in a Game 1, well, guess what? Advantage Philadelphia. If somehow the Yankees can win that Game 1 against Roy Halladay or Cliff Lee or whoever they throw out there, then it could turn into an interesting series, because then the Yankees could try and essentially pitch CC Sabathia in Games 1, 4, and 7, have him go 3 times for them.
Yeah, we're still a long way away from seeing that matchup. I'll tell you right now, I'm certain that there's a lot of front office personnel that are sweating out these games, and like we said, Philly's getting clocked tonight. That looks like it's going to be 2-2, and they got to get through the pressure of a win or go home situation. So they're not there yet. The matchup isn't there yet. It's a long way away. But as of right now, we got 2 very interesting Game 5s that are going to take place.
Absolutely. Even for sake of argument, say Philadelphia, New York, neither one of them advanced. From a baseball standpoint, you still have potentially a good baseball matchup with cities like St. Louis versus Detroit. St. Louis is a very big baseball town. People don't realize that because they're not on the East Coast, but St. Louis Cardinals are a historical franchise. Same thing as Detroit Tigers.
Right, they're going to have great ratings in those cities, but outside those
areas,
right. I mean, I'm certainly not going to be somebody that wants to tune in and see Milwaukee play St. Louis or Detroit play Texas. It's just not something that I'm going to follow. You need these big market teams in it. It's a situation where if the Yankees advance, you have New York Yankees fans all over the country where you're going to have a high rating, whether it's California or Nebraska. Now you talk about bringing a team like Milwaukee in or a team like St. Louis. They're not just going to get that, following that the Yankees would bring.
Okay, sports fans, you're listening to Technically Speaking right here live on CLNSRadio.com. The call-in number is 347-215-7771. We're live with former NBA official Tim Donaghy and the Scotsman, co-star of Return to the Rafters, the 2008 championship DVD for the Celtics. We're talking MLB right now, and similarly, as with any sport, Tim, you brought it up, Lakers, Celtics, obviously is going to get higher ratings than, two smaller market teams, no different in baseball. And you touched on officiating, the umpires. How much do the
umpires in baseball? It's really not too much subjectivity other than the home plate umpire calling balls and strikes, and they seem to monitor that, pretty well these days with that tracking system they have. It's not like in football or in basketball where there's a lot of subjectivity and interpretation of calls to where you can really give one team or another an advantage. So in regard to officiating, I would think that has the least amount in baseball that an official can really give favoritism to. So I think the officiating...
In any other sport, Tim? Tim, in any other sport, putting baseball, least amount of subjectivity in any other of the major sports.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think that the umpires have a hard time, giving one team an advantage over another because, the way they monitor the strike zone with the tracking system, the way that, they can go to replays and, view plays. So, it's going to be hard to really, favor the Yankees or favor the Phillies. I think that they just have to really hope, these teams can pull it out.
As a former, major sport official, referee, how much does that take away or add to the game of watching baseball, knowing that I guess your former peers in other sports don't have the kind of control that they do in the NBA or in the NFL?
The bottom line is that they're out there and they're trying to, get as many of the calls right as possible, because it's, pretty much a black and white situation with the strike zone and the way they monitor that. And there's really not, anything that a baseball umpire can do. Now when you talk about football, you can call holding, you can't call holding. When you talk about basketball, you can call hand checking, you can let hand checking go. It's a different situation, with baseball than it is for the other major sports.
See, I surprisingly enough, I agree with you, Tim, and the only exception that I've ever seen.
You're allowed to agree with me. There's nothing
I know,
wrong.
but normally you're wrong. Normally you're wrong all the time, so I have a hard time agreeing with you. But the only exception you never see to any of the umpire issues in baseball is when you have a star hitter, like you have somebody who is locked for the Hall of Fame, a legend like Derek Jeter. His strike zone might be a little bit bigger than the eighth hitter on the Royals or something like that. Overall, I agree that strike zones are strike zones, and it's a lot harder to, not to like bemoan some of your former friends, but it's a lot harder to be crooked as an umpire in baseball as it is to be a ref in the NFL or the NBA. And the only other issue you ever see now is not balls and strikes, but safe or out when it comes to guys at home plate or first base, because as you remember, there was that play earlier in the year, the Pittsburgh Pirates, the guy got called safe and he didn't even touch home plate. He wasn't anywhere near it. Stuff like that does happen, but at the same time, they review everything and they do generally tend to try and take care of it, so there's no controversy lingering over it. That way it doesn't have the fans crying conspiracy.
But bottom line is there's circumstances in those other sports to where things are let go, where they're called, depending on score and time in the game, and it's not like that in baseball. It's not like the umpires go out and referee the score and time, but you certainly do see that in the other major sports, whether it's hockey, football, or any other professional sport where they try to keep the fans' interest. And for whatever reason, baseball doesn't do that. And it's something that is good in my mind to keep the fan viewership. You don't ever really hear any conspiracy theories in baseball.
There's been so few issues when it comes to the umpiring in baseball. I mean, most people, if you're a baseball aficionado, you remember the name Don Denkinger, the guy that called the Royals runner safe at first base against the Cardinals in '85. You have the John Hirschbeck spitting issue with Roberto Alomar, where they were going face to face. What was it? Is it Joe West? Is that the guy's name that took the perfect game away from the Tigers pitcher earlier this year? So it's so far and few between. You don't have a chance to learn the names of all these umpires and say, oh God, this guy's umpiring our game. We're screwed. It's not like that where, Tim, as you would, probably back me up on this, where if guys see the nickname Bavetta or Salvatore or Crawford, they know that they're in for a long night depending on, which team you are and which team you're playing. So. Oh,
no doubt about it. I remember refereeing a game with Dick Bavetta in Sacramento. A guy in the front row knew he was reffing a game, ran out to his car and got a Lakers jersey. And he was holding up the Lakers jersey. On the back of it, the name Bavetta was on there. So, there's no doubt about it that these guys, certainly know whether they're going to get screwed or not, depending on who's refereeing the game.
Mike, this is a little little off base here, but knowing you as long as I have, I've actually seen you on the Return to the Raptors DVD and heard you on my radio, on our radio show, Celtics Late Night Show, or on various other radio shows on the network, pretty much calling out officials name by name, screaming at the TV screen, text messaging like a friggin' madman. Mike, how often in your vocabulary did Tim Donaghy's name come up in that?
You know what? And this is probably like more of a tribute to Tim than anything else. I never once said Tim Donaghy's name when I was watching the games because he basically kept himself out of the limelight. And when Tim was reffing, and I'm not trying to age him here by any means, but when Tim was reffing, that wasn't something that you were generally focused on back then. I mean, we all knew the superstars got calls. I mean, there was no secret about it, but it wasn't It wasn't this big thing where it is after, what happened with Tim where, he basically outed the NBA and what their hidden agendas were for each ref, each team, each city. Tim Donaghy's name became synonymous with bad officiating because he outed them. But looking back, when I was watching the games when I was younger, I actually wasn't quite as, quite the conspiracy theorist. I wasn't as, paying too much attention to the refs to focus on the games. But, I think that's actually a pretty big tribute to Tim that we didn't know his name until afterwards, until he's the one that basically tried to clean up the game.
Oh, wow. A lot of love going on around here, guys. I don't even know if Tim, you have no idea what this guy is like. Wait till we broadcast post-game shows during the NBA season. You're going to see a different side of Scotty than you've ever seen. Producing this show, I've been lucky enough.
So far, we're all right. I like a guy that takes a stand.
He does. Guys, let's take a commercial break. We got a lot on tap this evening. We're going to be talking NFL next. A lot going on, between Bick and Romo, the choking, everything else. Let's take a quick commercial break, guys. We'll come right back. Call-in numbers 347-215-7771.
First choice for Internet Sports Talk Radio, CLNS Radio.
Hey, sports fans, Tim Donaghy here from the Sports Connection. I know the NBA better than anybody. That's why you need to call 1-800-308-9003 for today's free pick.
Thanks a lot, Timmy D. It's been a great year. Thanks to you. Guys, this is Danny D. Make sure you pick up that phone like Tim said. Give us a call for today's free pick at 1-800-308-9003 or visit us at DannyBasandBoy.info.
Mike Mackey here, host of Crunch Time with Mac Attack, the show giving you all the news and updates in the sports week, airing live every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on CLNSRadio.com. For the next 5 weeks, Crunch Time with Mac Attack is partnering up with our friends at the popular website BustedTees.com to give away a free t-shirt code to one lucky caller each show for the next 5 weeks. BustedTees.com is one of the most well-known shirt designing companies on the web today. And even if you don't win the free shirt, everyone is a winner. Because when you head over to the Crunch Time with Mac Attack show page on CLNSRadio.com and you find the Busted Tees logo in the advertisement section, you will also find yourself a coupon code to be used on the site. So tune in to Crunch Time with Mac Attack, Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, live on CLNSRadio.com for your chance to win a free shirt with free shipping and handling from BustedTees.com. You don't want to miss out on this one.
This is your boy Delonte West, and you're listening to CLNS Radio.
So, Pete Paul, who's your favorite to win the NBA title next season?
Come on, Gelso. Is that a serious question? The big three coming back, Rondo's healthy. It's obviously going to be the Boston Celtics.
Wow, you really do wear green goggles, don't you?
Well, Nick, I may, but thanks to the expanded broadcast schedule here on CLNS Radio, I've been able to expand my horizons outside of the color green.
That is true, Brandon. Here at CLNS Radio, we don't just broadcast Boston Celtics talk. We have programs such as The Breakdown with Dave and Audley, Off the Court with Calvin Chamberlain and Luciana Celestine, Technically Speaking with former NBA official Tim Donaghy and Mike Munger, the Scotsman, NBA for Life, and the new Mike T.
Check out the broadcast schedule at www.clnsradio.com and listen in live for all your sport talk news.
With all this general NBA programming, this helps people like you see more than just the color green.
comment once said,
"It's not that easy being green, having to spend each day the..."
Hey, this is Sam Romanella at K&M All-Star Sports. You're listening to Technically Speaking on CLNS Radio. Back to you, Mike and Tim.
All right, everybody. Welcome back. This is Technically Speaking with myself, Mike Munger, a.k.a. the Scotsman for Turn of the Raptors, former NBA official Tim Donaghy, and our producer, who, by the way, I just want to point out, we are equal opportunity employers here at CLNS Radio, and we are employing a criminal. I had the privilege of hearing Nick. For some reason, Nick left his phone on. I heard him getting pulled over by the cops today. Now, I won't say everything on there what he was saying, but, it was a lot of references to bacon and pigs and a lot of swear words. You hear in an NWA album. I mean, it was bad. It was, he was so belligerent. I'm actually shocked that he's not doing this show from jail. But,
man, I tried to shoot out Tim. I know Tim Donaghy. I'm in a hurry. I got to get home and do this show.
Let me tell you something.
They almost put me in jail.
They're on the show now.
They almost put me.
I almost feel like I have to go out and do something like, tell a cop, where to go and how to get there just so I can be part of the crew here. I almost feel left out. But, what we're going to move on to now, and is a subject that I know as a Giants fan, as an Eagles fan, myself and Tim are both going to enjoy. And that is the absolute choke job that we saw this weekend with Tony Romo and the Dallas Cowboys. How in the hell do you have a 27-3 lead at home against the Detroit Lions and still end up losing that game 34-30? I'll answer that question myself. Tony Romo, for a guy who's, for some reason, the media loves like a darling, this guy is essentially the LeBron James of the NFL. When the game's on the line or you need a big game, performance from this guy, he's going to choke it away. And the only way Detroit could have come back in that game was to have them get some kind of turnovers on defense that led to scores. Well, they had two interceptions that led directly to touchdowns. That got them back in the game. Romo threw a third interception late in the game. It was costly. Detroit went down and scored. I mean, it was, for somebody that hates the Cowboys like you and I, Tim, this was definitely one of those games that we're going to remember for a long time, and we won't let the Cowboys fans live it down.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, you talk about Romo. I mean, they want to say he's good, and he is good at times, but when he's bad, holy Christ, he sucks. And he's, basically turned the ball over and cost them 2 games, by his, lack of good decision making. And, the bottom line is, the Cowboys need a win, and they need a win bad. Just like the Philadelphia Eagles, the Eagles have a little bit better match. So, obviously, in my mind, the Eagles are in a must-win situation this weekend, and the Cowboys need to put up a good showing, when they head to New England.
Well, let me ask you this, and as a fan of a team in the NFC East, you know how those rivalries have been for a long time, especially with Washington, the Giants, Philadelphia, and Dallas. Essentially, you have 4 fan bases who just can't stand each other. If you play for one of those teams, you hate the other 3 teams. It's just one of those things that's beat into you from the minute you sign with one of them. The Redskins' Chris Cooley was on a sports talk show, I believe, in the Washington, D.C. area. And let me tell you, he took that rivalry to a new level here. And this was even after Dallas beat Washington 18-16, I believe, off of a 6 field goal game. Cooley said, and I quote, "It's amazing. Amazing to watch him choke like that. I'm just saying, if I'm up 24 points in the third quarter, if I'm the head coach, I feel like I could probably just take a knee for the rest of the game, punt it away, and there's no way that Detroit's going to drive on you like that, or drive on you that many times. The only way you're going to give up that many points is turnovers, right? It's hilarious to watch him throw pick sixes, too, back-to-back. I loved it." This was phenomenal. This is the kind of stuff that I like to hear. It adds to the rivalries. It's trash talk, but it's not, you're not malicious in it. You're proving that you dislike a certain player or a certain team. What are your thoughts on this? I love everything about this.
I mean, certainly there's nothing wrong with what he said, but I think you have to put it in the frame of what question was asked to him that he came up with that answer. And I believe the question was, do you believe the Cowboys choked? And that's what he used with his answer, but people are acting like he just came out and said this on his own, but it was addressed to him in that type of form. So, the bottom line is that, you can go out and say whatever you want to say in the media. I don't think when you get to the professional level that it makes you play any harder than you would have played anyway, because you have to go out there and perform night in and night out. It's great for the media world to get different things going back and forth. It's no secret that the Cowboys and the Redskins are a huge rivalry, and like you said, it adds fuel to the fire for the media and gives them good headlines. But it's not going to make any team play any harder than they would anyway.
Well, let me ask you: do you think it's a good thing or a bad thing that the Cowboys are on a bye this week? I believe they have a bye this week.
I think there's no doubt about it that they needed to bye. They need to get their act together. They need to get their head back in the game, and Romo's got to concentrate on what he's doing. They're going to have a hell of a time, in New England, and it's no secret that's going to be a tough game for them to get. And I think with the extra week of preparation, they have a little better chance of getting it.
See, I mean, it's one of those things where, from a team standpoint, I agree with you. It's probably good for them to get away, but through the media and with the fans, it gives them another week to stew on how they went into the bye week. Essentially, they could have been 3-1. They should be sitting on top of the NFC East or in a three-way tie.
They could be 4-0, right? I mean, Dallas could literally be 4-0 right now. I mean, they've had two total collapses in the fourth quarter when they had leads.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny because the root of these losses is Tony Romo, and I want to discuss that for a second because you look at the way that the media hypes up a lot of guys these days, and I'm going to use Tony Romo and your guy Michael Vick here as my examples. These guys are phenomenal athletes. Let's just call a spade here. These guys are phenomenal athletes. They're playing at the highest level that anybody can achieve in their profession. But when you look at their bodies of work, sure, these guys are the kind of guys you like having on a video game because they're going to throw, for 500 yards or rush for 200 yards in Madden. But in real life football, which is what matters, in the biggest games, these guys cannot win. They don't have that it factor. As much as Skip Bayless wants to say he sees the clutch factor in Tony Romo, he doesn't have it. 11 fourth quarter comebacks or something in the 6-7 years he's been a quarterback in meaningless regular season games means nothing because when push comes to shove in the biggest games that he has to play, he's not going to perform. And with all that being said, in your opinion, do you think Tony Romo is the right quarterback to lead the Dallas Cowboys to the Super Bowl and possibly a Super Bowl win?
No, I don't think Tony Romo is that quality of a quarterback. They're trying to build him up to it. But the fact is he's making key mistakes at key times. I mean, not too many great quarterbacks, Super Bowl quarterbacks, will blow leads the way he has, and it's not because they have problems on the defensive side of the ball. It's because he's turning the ball over, and not only is he turning the ball over, but the defense is scoring off of those turnovers immediately. It's not even like they have to put their offense on the field to get the ball in the end zone. The defense is doing it. It just shows you the poor decisions he's making and where he's putting that ball to where they can throw it or run it back for a touchdown. I mean, he's right now he's having a terrible year in my mind, and he needs to stop these turnovers and get a huge win under his belt in New England if they can.
All right. In that same respect, you look at your guy Michael Vick here, and again, phenomenal athlete, one of the best athletes to ever play in the NFL. But when it comes to his skill set for the position he plays, he's without question a mediocre quarterback. I know.
Right now he's not having a great year either. I mean, he's turning the ball over himself, he's also in a position where he's not making good decisions, which is killing the Eagles. He's another guy that has had leads in the fourth quarter and has hurt his team. But I blame those losses in Dallas on Tony Romo. The Eagles' losses are at the defensive end, to where if the ball gets past the defensive line, no linebackers or D-backs want to tackle anybody, and that's what's killing the Eagles. Their defense is just flat out horrible.
I agree. I mean, for a team that was called the Dream Team, and everybody was predicting nothing but the Super Bowl for these guys, they're flat out awful, and their front seven it sucks. It really does. But when you look at it, the first 3 games, Michael Vick, he got hit a lot. There were a lot of turnovers. He had to be replaced. He has a busted hand. Even in San Francisco, I mean, yeah, he threw for over 400 yards, but still, I think he had an interception in that game. I'll ask you the same question I asked you about Romo, and I want you to take the fan out of it and just try and do it from an analytical perspective here. Is Michael Vick the kind of guy who's going to lead a team, especially this team that he has around him in Philadelphia? Is he the kind of guy who you have full confidence in to lead the Eagles to a Super Bowl win?
Yeah, I do. I think Michael Vick is a dynamic player. He's a huge weapon, and I think he is certainly a quarterback that can lead a team to the Super Bowl and win. I mean, if you look at their loss last week against San Francisco, I mean, they missed 2 field goals that certainly could have been made. I mean, they're just at every aspect of the game, they're failing at this point. He had a great game last week. I think he threw for over 400 yards. He ran for about 75. So I mean, he certainly had a great game, but they're not playing team football, and everyone's not holding up their end of the bargain here, and it's just killing them. They're also having red zone problems where they're not putting the ball in the end zone. So it's the Eagles have many different areas that they need to improve on, unlike Dallas, to where you can just show that Tony Romo made critical mistakes at critical times and cost them 2 games.
Sticking with the Eagles here, they have a big game coming up this week at Buffalo, and Buffalo's one of those early season teams that a lot of people jumped on their bandwagon. They had a pretty tough loss at Cincinnati, the game that I think everybody thought they were going to win, but the Eagles have to go into Buffalo, and even when Buffalo was flat out awful, that's never been an easy place to play. And you look at the way their team is set up, they have a very explosive offense with Ryan Fitzpatrick at quarterback. Stevie Johnson is the number 1 receiver. Fred Jackson is their number 1 running back. I mean, looking at this game, as an Eagles fan, does that worry you, with the way their offense is set up? I mean, especially with the injuries to the defense that Philly, I believe Trent Cole is out, and he's their best defensive lineman. I mean, is this another one of those games where you look at it and you're like, if they win, I'll be happy, but I won't be surprised if they lose?
Put it this way. I think this weekend, this game for the Philadelphia Eagles is a make or break for the entire season. If they lose this game to Buffalo, they're done. They might as well pack it in and give it up. This is a playoff game for the Eagles. They need to win this, and they need to win it convincingly to get their confidence back. And it's a situation where I truly believe they are going to rise to the occasion, and I think that they are going to, I think they're going to beat Buffalo rather handily, even though it is in Buffalo.
Looking at the what I have in front of me, it's a scouting report. Philadelphia, Andy Reid, he's generally been known as the kind of coach who likes to pass roughly 60 to 75% of the time. You look at the Eagles' offense, however, and I think their most dynamic player is, without question, LaShawn McCoy. He's an explositive runner, and he's
who can't hold on to the football. I mean, he's been turning the ball over like crazy. But go ahead.
But still, I still think he's Philadelphia's most dangerous player from a running and receiving standpoint. So,
I mean, let's not forget Deshaun Jackson. I mean, I don't think that he's actually having a terrible year because I think he's still pissed off and upset that they didn't give him a new contract. So he's another guy that they need to utilize better and spread that field out to where Buffalo's going to have some problems. I look for a very high scoring game in this this Buffalo Philadelphia game coming up on Sunday.
See, I was actually going to say I think that LaShawn McCoy and Jeremy Maclin should be the 2 focal points of the Philadelphia offense, because with Deshaun Jackson, it's either feast or famine. The guy's either going to get a couple 60-yard plays, or he's not going to get much. He won't even get 60 yards for the game because he's not the kind of receiver who you can count on to go across the middle, because essentially Deshaun Jackson isn't going over the middle because he wants to protect himself so he can get another contract after this season runs out. If that's
no
true,
doubt about it.
If that's true, it speaks to his character, and again, but he's still not that kind of receiver where you're going to throw it to him and let him gut out the tough yards. He's either home run or a strikeout.
In my mind, Deshaun Jackson is a guy that I would not give a lot of money to, because I think once you lock him up for a certain amount of years, I think he's going to become a huge, huge headache for any organization. I think he's one of those guys that's going to be out of control. He's somebody that is going to cause a lot of problems in the locker room, and if he has a huge year, he's going to want that deal renegotiated. He's a huge talent, but I also think he's a huge headache.
Yeah, well, I mean, you've essentially gone on record here saying you think they're going to pull it out. Give us a score. You know, this is something I normally reserve for my Sunday show, Bringing the House. Try and be as unbiased here as you can, and just break it down, football team versus football team.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly will. I think it's no secret that I'm a fan of Philadelphia. It's a situation where they've been playing terrible, but I think that Andy Reid's going to definitely prepare them, and they're going to be ready. You know, I look for the Eagles to win big. I mean, I'm talking 33-14. I'm talking 33-17. I think they're going to win rather handily this weekend. I really do.
See, I can't agree with you on that. I do think it should be a pretty high-scoring game here, but just know that Buffalo averages 33.3 points per game, and that offense is just phenomenal. It really is. It's all going to come down to whether or not Philadelphia can match them point for point. So I'm looking at a game where I think you're going to see Buffalo, win 31-30 or 31-28, something that's high-scoring, entertaining. But I think with all the injuries right now, especially on that D-line, it was already weak as it is. I just don't know if Philadelphia can overcome it. If they do, they can salvage their season. If Philadelphia drops to 1-4, I think you're right. I don't think there's any chance in hell they make the playoffs. It's going to be a long season and a lot of disappointment, and it'll teach people not to crown somebody a champion before the season starts, just like the NBA did, which to me is a pretty decent segue. Good job, Mike. But what we're going to do is we're going to take another commercial break here real quick. Jump on the phone lines, 347-215-7771. And after the break, we're going to make sure we get a lot of NBA Lockout talk. There's a lot of good stuff going on right now, so we want to hear from you. So we'll be right back after this.
This is CLNS Radio, the home of Internet Sports Talk Radio.
This is Avery Bradley of the Boston Celtics, and you're listening to CLNS Radio.
Here's what you've been missing if you haven't heard Mike T.
Speaking of pansies, what are your feelings? 500 yards passing?
Are you going to call Tom Brady a pansy? Bite your tongue.
Could I have one or the other? Looks or good quarterback?
Here's his resume. 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs, 3-time Super Bowl champion. He is married to a billionaire supermodel, and he's gorgeous. He's just a gorgeous, gorgeous man. So, yeah, Mike T. It's sports and a whole lot more with my buddy Tyler Tomlinson and me, Mike Fay, every Sunday at 5 p.m. Eastern right here on CLNSRadio.com.
This is Luke Arangoni, and you're listening to CLNS Radio.
CelticsBlog.com, the online community for Celtics fans. Blogging since 2004, Jeff Clark is a die-hard for life. Hey, did I mention it's also family-friendly, and there's tons of ways to interact through blog comments, forums, chat, and now the new fan posts and fan shots. It's all part of what's going on at the rapidly expanding SB Nation community of blogs. Hey, and guess what? Celtics Stuff Live simulcast from Celtics Blog every Sunday night. CelticsBlog.com. Let's get all the latest updates and thoughtful commentary on everything from the Celtics and the NBA. So check it out at CelticsBlog.com.
Okay, folks, welcome back to Technically Speaking right here on CLNSRadio.com. I'm Nick Gelso, joined by former NBA official Tim Donaghy, and Mike Munger, the Scotsman. We talked MLB. The guys talked NFL. It's now time to talk about, I guess, a sport that originally dominated this network, which is the NBA, guys. What is going on in the world of the NBA with this lockout? Tim, let's start with you.
You know, obviously these sides are very far apart, and I know they want to give the fans hope, and they put different things out there, that lead them to believe that hopefully soon they're going to get an agreement in place. But they're so far apart at this point. They are certainly going to cancel some regular season games, and with that, it's going to put a lot of pressure on the players. So, we're going to see what happens. I'm sure the next move is this week to not only cancel some games, but cancel the first month of the regular season to where the players are, going to start to feel it, and put a lot of pressure on them to start to fold.
I gotta say, I listened to your argument last week. We're going to play a clip from that in a few minutes. And I mostly, for the most part, Tim, I kind of side with you as far as from an ownership standpoint. Owners of businesses are there to turn a profit, at least break even. It's not like it was during, boom times of the 90s when all these billionaires were looking to lose money on their tax returns as a write-off. These business owners are what they are. Business owners. They need to turn a profit. Scotty, not to rehash the whole argument from last week, I know you disagree with that aspect, that topic, that opinion. Has anything changed since then, or are you still on that level?
I'm still on it. I mean, I'd like to think that both sides were negotiating in good faith, but just from all the stuff that I've been reading on ESPN, it just doesn't seem to be like that. It really doesn't. When the players decided they were willing to concede, the BRI percentage from 57% down to 53%, which essentially would have given the owners back over $1 billion over the first 6 years of the collective bargaining agreement. Right there, that tells me that they truly want to get a deal done. These owners say, we've lost such and such amount of money. The players say, well, we're willing to give you back this much, which is more than two-thirds of what they said they were losing. You guys go the other 33% of the way to get the money back. And the owner said, no. You knew right away the owners don't want to negotiate. They want to dictate, which is absolute garbage when it comes to something like this.
But Tim, as an owner, don't you have a right to dictate how your business is run and how you pay people?
No doubt about it. The bottom line is the owners want to get a deal done, but they want to get a deal done that is going to benefit them to where they're going to be able to, put some money in their pocket and profit from this whole thing. It's the bottom line is, they're a far amount of money apart, and they need to be in a position to where both guys are at the table and they're negotiating in good faith. Right now, that's not going to happen. Neither side wants to budge, and until the regular season games are lost and the players start to fall apart, which they will. Nothing's going to get done. This thing at the earliest isn't going to start until Christmas, and it's a situation to where you're going to start to see these players fall apart, and Stern's going to come in, with that divide and conquer attitude, and he's going to be successful in getting a deal in place that's going to benefit the owners.
Tim, I mean, you were around in 2000 when we had a condensed season. It was 2000, correct? Yeah. What right now is going on behind the scenes as far as amongst the officiating crews at least? Are they going to get paid? I mean, how does that work?
Last time we went through this, he paid us through the lockout, so we were all sitting home golfing, happy as could be because we were getting paid. So there's nothing better than that. But I don't know what their contract says now. They just got a new collective bargaining agreement. I can't picture Stern paying them. Past December 1st, and we'll see what happens. But I think, people don't realize this. This is going to take, a lot before this thing gets settled.
No, explain that. Dig a little deeper into that. When you're saying they're just that far apart?
They're far apart. I mean, there's things that, they want to get rid of guaranteed contracts, which I don't blame them. They want to get a salary cap in place. It's not going to be a hard cap, but they're going to have some form of a hard cap to where there's no way to manipulate around it, and there's a lot of issues. I mean, and I know Mike's always said that the owners are at fault for allowing the GMs to sign these players to these outrageous contracts, but what they're going to do is they're going to put a collective bargaining agreement in place to where basically you can't buy a championship, and you're not going to be able to sign some of these players to some of these crazy contracts that are going to cripple a franchise for 5 years.
Well, I mean, look, and believe me, I, for one, I'm not a fan of being able to buy a championship. You saw it happen with the Lakers. It's not something that,
Let me stop you for a minute. Let me stop you. Did we see it happen with the Celtics in 2008?
They didn't go out and sign free agents, though. They made trades. They actually had to build their team up through the draft for, gather some tradable assets and then make blockbuster deals. It's not like they said, all right, we already have this and this.
That was the time when they were losing on purpose to, build up those draft picks so that they could trade for.
Do you believe that, Mike?
No,
do you believe the Celtics were losing on purpose? I mean, 19 games in a row in 07.
No, I mean, you look at the injuries we had that year. Pierce was out. Tony Allen, that's when he tore his ACL on that dunk attempt against the Pacers. I mean, we were starting Kevin. We had Kevin Pinckney in the team for the end of the season, so we were essentially stuck with Scalabrini as our best starter.
Let Tim get in here, Mike. I got you. Good point.
What franchise keeps a coach like Doc Rivers after he goes through losing the way he did? If they didn't have a plan in place, to lose to build those draft picks up. Name me another franchise that had a coach that had the record that he had and they kept him.
Well, I know Red Auerbach didn't have a great coaching record before he became the coach of the Celtics.
Come on, Mike. Now we're going back to the 50s here.
But I'm just saying, he asked for an example. I gave him one. Here's the thing.
There was a plan in place to lose. Christ, for one time they had a 20-point lead at halftime, and they pulled everyone out of the game and didn't play them in the second half and ended up losing. I mean, it's just some of the stuff that they did to build up those draft picks was ridiculous. And they got away with it.
See, the way I look at it...
Wait a minute, Mike. How would they not have gotten away with it, Tim? What could have happened to put a stop to that?
I mean, the bottom line is there's no... They're sitting players out that weren't hurt, or I don't know. It's the thing to do in the NBA. I mean, how they would have got away with it. Obviously, the commissioner has to step in and put rules in place. I mean, there's none of that in football to where they don't play hard every game.
Yeah, but let's face it, football, every single game matters.
Well, every game matters to the franchise.
Well, I mean.
It's just a situation where you see it every year. There's one team that decides to sit players out or not play them in the fourth quarter in critical situations because they want to lose. I mean, it's no secret. It's done year in and year out in the NBA.
So if what Tim is insinuating here, Mike, is correct, David Stern allowed it to happen. Obviously, there weren't rules in place to stop it, but in this case, Stern promoted the Celtics. It was important for the Celtics, the Boston Celtics, to be competitive again. Important to the brand, to the league, to the profitability of the league. Is that correct, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt about it. It's beneficial for Boston to, be back in a situation to where they're, doing well in the playoffs. And, the whole way the NBA conducts business is comical. I mean, they have the ability to, approve or disapprove trades, and that whole Pau Gasol going to LA was, another situation to where, it helped a big market team.
Well, and it also helped a big market team reach the finals to be pitted against one of sports' greatest rivalries. I mean, how ironic is it? And I'm not agreeing with you, Tim. I'm not disagreeing. I'm just restating the facts. How ironic is it that the Boston Celtics come back to prominence, and that season, that postseason, they faced the Los Angeles Lakers in the NBA Finals? The marketing was genius during those finals.
It was marketing, but again, I just can't believe that if there wasn't a plan in place for Boston to lose, that they would keep Doc Rivers on as the coach. It just there's too many things to point back to the fact that they had a plan in place, and I got to give them credit. It's a great plan. I would do the same thing, And, it definitely got them a championship.
Sorry, Tim, but it's absolute crap, for you to say that Stern, wanted the Celtics to become this great franchise again, because as we all know, in the early 90s when Reggie Lewis passed away, the Celtics were still responsible for his cap number. And that right there showed me, the league had something in for the Celtics. And Red Auerbach even said it himself. The great Red Auerbach said, there's going to come a time when the Celtics need the NBA's help, and we're not going to get it because of how dominant we are.
I love that quote. I love that quote.
And, I mean, it's because there are so many owners and so many people that, that were on Stern's side that hated the Celtics because of how dominant they were and how much of a genius Red Auerbach was in the moves and the deals and the wheeling that he did. They didn't want the Celtics to win anymore. So then after Len Bias passed away, people, they didn't openly say it, but you could tell the general feeling was, good. The Celtics got what was coming to them. And then when Reggie Lewis passed away, the league continued to charge the Celtics his salary cap number, which back then, if you compare it to now, Reggie Lewis is probably a, $12, $13 million player. Back then, that was huge. That was absolutely huge, and then the Celtics couldn't recover. And then in what I do believe was a tanking season when we had ML Carr as the coach, when they were supposed to get Tim Duncan, they had the highest percentage of any team to get the number one pick in NBA history, and somehow they magically end up with the number 3 and the number 6. Give me a friggin' break.
I'm sure if they could have made Tim Duncan go to Boston rather than San Antonio, it would have been done. Obviously, there's every now and then there's a glitch in the system, no matter what they try to do. But you can't sit here and tell me. I've been in situations where I've listened to a lot of this stuff. It's no secret that the NBA pushes those big market teams. I mean, you look at the turnaround that has taken place in the TV ratings with Boston and LA in the finals versus Cleveland and San Antonio, and you can't tell me that they're not wishing and pushing for that and trying to dictate what to call and what not to call to the officials to make sure that happens.
All right, guys, we're up against the clock. Can you imagine 60 minutes passed? That was the fastest 60 minutes I think I've ever experienced. Good conversation, guys. I got to tell you, it's an honor to be on the mic with both of you moving forward. There are definitely going to be changes in the format of this show as we evolve and grow personality. These two guys perfectly battle one another. Definitely stay tuned to CLNSRadio.com for show updates, upcoming guests. And also, I need to mention, Scotty, you know this, Tim, we're now on YouTube and really blowing up YouTube. Great excerpts from past episodes of this show as well as other shows on the network. So certainly tune into YouTube, CLNS Radio show page on YouTube for all episodes of Technically Speaking. Gentlemen, it's been an honor. We got 2 minutes left. Tim, you got 30 seconds to wrap with your thoughts on the NBA lockout.
Yeah, the bottom line is, guys, don't expect to see any NBA basketball in my mind until after Christmas.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the way things are looking. Hopefully these owners get their heads out of their asses and realize that, getting back over $200 million a year is a lot better than what the players were offering at first. And without the players, there is no product. They can try and preach to me that business crap all they want, but I don't go to the games to watch the owners sit in their suits. I go to the games to watch the players. That's the bottom line right there.
What really disturbs me about the whole situation,
how about the cheerleaders, Mike? You go to see any of the cheerleaders or just the players?
You know what's funny? As a Celtics fan, I despise the cheerleaders. I think Red Auerbach is rolling over in his grave. So I'm a loyalist to Red Auerbach.
No doubt about it. They don't grow them too cute in Boston.
Oh man, are you kidding me?
Talk about Dallas. You want to see some cheerleaders? You go to Dallas. You'll change your fucking point of view.
My thoughts are it's a shame that we are training the consumer who is the listener, the watcher of NBA basketball to live with a condensed season. Who knows, moving forward, that might be the path they take, permanently as far as shortening the season goes. We're up against the clock. This was Technically Speaking right here on CLNS Radio with former NBA official Tim Donaghy and, of course, the Scotsman. Hey, guys, tune in next week, Wednesday, 8 p.m., right here on CLNSRadio.com. Good night, guys.